Codeo kurucu ortağı Tolgay Hıçkıran
Again, Tolgay Hıçkıran is going to be the speaker of this session. He is going to make a workshop to us. Hello. You can start when you are ready by sharing your screen, please. Hello, everybody. I think it is my fourth time that I do a workshop. Hopefully, there will come more. Today, actually, I will talk about visual scripting. It is a rare topic. Let me talk about myself. First, my name is Tolgay Hıçkıran. I am an industrial engineer. I actually produce a third-party software to the companies such as third-party catalogs. And also for the EMEA region, we are the authorized actually training center for the unit. So we do such trainings and workshops, especially for the enterprises of Unity and as well for the clients of Unity. There are a few in Turkey, but mostly we have actually foreign clients. Now let me talk about Visual Script. Well, I'd like to make a comparison first, very short. There are different game engines, Unreal, these are, and for the Unity, actually, we have independent Visual Script language that is Bold. You can find maybe a few more visual sprinting language in the store. However, the usage of Bold, it is very common. So that's why Bold was purchased. And 2021 version, has the default version of it now. So if you'd like to follow me actually in this workshop, 2019 version, 2020 version, or 2021 version can be used. If you use the 2021 version, you don't need to download a package. But if you'd like to use something older, then you can download the Bold as a package. Please do it. So I am using 2021 version, and let me generate actually the version. So it's quite empty. Visual scripting, for whom is it? The ones who do not know how to write code. People who do not like writing code. People who think that it is difficult to write coding. And also, people who might find the coding, if it is done visually, then they can go for visual scripting. From the perspective of professions, architects, some engineers, for example, construction engineers, can use it. People who do not write code, but maybe they are required to write a code someday. So if you'd like to make further research, architects actually use some visual programming programs. One of them is Grasshopper and the other one is called Dynamo, Autodesk's firm. I do not remember the name of the other firm, but it's a cat actually, a software firm. So there are different languages that you can see them. So that's why our target people that we target for are the ones who do not know how to write code, or they are people who do not have enough time to write code. Let me show you. Where would we find visual scripting? So from the window, you would see the default packages from the package manager. First, let me download the packages. Unity registry, I go for, and I just write down visual, and you would see that it is 2021. Here you would see the revised package. And here it says visual scripting, previously known as Bold. you can see the bolt for the older versions. So people who use the older versions can download the bolt from the asset store. Okay, in this workshop, what would be the final look? We have a few cubes and we will learn about how to move them without writing a code. We won't be writing codes, we'll just move a few cubes and that's it. So first of all, I generate a cube for the screen. It doesn't matter how you name it. So here you see that it's in front of my camera, I can see it. To start with visual scripting, first of all, we need to create a component. Just click for the component. This is the new version of 2021. Here you would see the visual scripting. It is very newly added. You can just directly click on it and just go for it. Here you would see the machines and variables. You can either add them. Well, first I will add a script machine because I need it. After adding script machine as a component, I am asked a source, either embedded or graph. So I go for graph. This is what we will produce. So as we do not have any graphic in hand, first let me generate one. When I say new, I create a folder. Within the folder, here you would see the asset. I just write rotation. And what I try to do with my asset is rotating the cube. This is the name of my machine, rotate the cube. And for the summary, I just write a title. Well, the function is rotating the cube. So the title might be make the cube rotate. So this is the note. I can just write whatever I want for the note. The most simple move. Yes, we did it. We have a script machine in our component and we will fill it very soon. After doing it, here you see edit graph. It is selectable. So when you click on it, first of all, we create a node graph. So here you would see a code base and you would see all the objects that are being written down. Join, collider, well, anything that you want, such as mesh renderer, collider, material. These are all being written in the background. After generating the database, I will show you how to open the graphic. We have a script graph tab, and we will start programming on the tab. So we have visual scripting graph screen, and on this screen, well, just look at it. You see two events automatically generated. The first one is start and the other one is update. If you generate a folder called script and share script is another folder, well, trial script is another folder. Here you see within it two unit function, including the updating. Well, we just actually copied it. So under the cube two events are automatically blank. These are totally blank. So I will add some entries. In Graph Inspector, I continue. Here you would see trigger, output, input, and I have a blackboard. And within the blackboard, there are variations and variables. Well, it might be an object or a graphic, or it might be totally the scene, or it might be an application. So there are different variables and we can create them differently. This is simpler. Well, maybe it does not look that simple when you first start learning, but it will get simple afterwards. These are just generating variables. Some of them are used for the multiple objects and the others will be used for the singular objects. By clicking on this button, I can change actually the location of all these. I can move them to the left and to the right. It depends on me, you know, I can decide myself. This is the user interface. So I can enlarge or downsize some parts. And of course, there are minimums and maximums. On the right and on the left, well, I am now setting it to the minimum. Okay. Very basically, I'd like to make a rotation move. Just to rotate basically, primarily, we need a transfer component. Of course, you need this information. When you look at the cube, on the right side, you would see mesh renderer, transform, or box. Just to change all these components, you need to add them into the graphic. Just click on the right. You would see the fuzzy finder. Within the Unity, well, there are different functions and variables, and you might see them all by clicking on the right, which means that you can use them all. So instead of writing script, you can just bring the script here. What I need is just a component that I have to transform. So I write transform, and I can see the list of the things that I can transform, and you would see their explanations. Well, I can use X, Y, Z. I can so relative to. I can use world space. Let's start with the most basic one. X, Y, and Z. These are the angles. I just select them and I say enter. And then I come up with this transform component. When I look at it, when I look at the transform component, I would see transform itself, X, Y, and Z angles. So you see all these entries, and if you use share the graph, well, you would see some similar actually inputs and outputs there. So by giving an outsider number, you can make some internal changes. So that's why I won't be using the start, by the way, because start would run once, and it would actually run once for each square. When you start the game, it might be 300 frames per second, which means that it will run 300 times per second. So that's why update event, you can just connect it to the rotate by pulling it. And right after doing this, just click on the play. See, all the angles are 0. And when you click on play, you would see the logic journey. So that's why it's called visual script. Up until now, we did not write even a single code. And we have an update event. It is native. And we connect it to the transform. So in each update, it makes a transform. So now it is 0. Let me change the X angle. I make it 1. Here you see that it's rotating. To which direction in each frame, how many times one angle can rotate can be seen here, because frame is really high. Well, we can calculate it afterwards. So I never did write code. So let me rotate it to the direction of Y. So this is my reference, and I'm rotating it around, or it might be Z. So you see it. When I make changes on the play mode, we started as 0, 0, 0, and I turn off the play mode, and this is how it is. So it is something that we want sometimes, but sometimes we do not. Let me rotate it both in X and Y. Let me make a Y 0. So we want it sometimes, we do not want it another time. It depends on the situation. So here a very small and basic visual script. Let me enlarge it.
So I'm enlarging it. So here I want to make sure that these are the things, the values that we can enter. So that's why I'm going to be preparing a graph variable. So as a variable, I want to write these down. So I'm going to say that this is X rotate. And then I click on this plus, I select graph variables, and then I click on the X, and then there is this variable tip floating point numbers. I will be clicking that floating points numbers. After comma, the digits that you can enter, I mean real numbers, they should be. Even not full numbers. So, and then I make 1 as an entry. And here, I just drag it and put it inside the graphic. Here, I can put this as a drag and drop. Put an X here. Now I cannot enter X from here, but I can see it here. So when I click on play, here, and it just functions it now. It just operates it. I can see the functionality really comfortably here. And here there are certain object types which I would like to talk about. Our object types, friends, float, integer, string, boolean, they are different input types. The real numbers, full numbers, the characters, 1, 0, Boolean type, yes, no, variables, vector 3, and the whole numbers, and x, y axis, vector 3 and float, vector int as whole number vectors. So game object, system variables, Unity here, all the types that the variables that they're using actually. So when of course, writing scripts, we use them, but I'm just simply now picking these up because, I mean, this just generates the scripts automatically. I can just create my variables. What about, well, with X and Y, 2-3 space, if I'm going to work on that, there is that. And game objects. All the other ones that we display are game objects. And so, if once we start it, there is this X rotation. We can change the value 3, 5. However, when I stop it, graph variable, it just turns back. So Unity normally operates as it is being programmed. And the variables that you sterilize, when you turn off the play mode, it just turns into normal, ordinary. And in order to grasp that, there's this graph variable, and here, the variable inside. If you change it in the game mode, which is now 1, for instance, you can see the rotation speed. When I increase it to 3, you see, but when I turn off the play mode, it just turns back. So they are not saved on play mode. So here, we actually, let's do something on object. So I come to object here, object variables. And let me just show you how we'll be using them. Just think of the X rotate, only navigating in the X side. So in order to rotate it to Y-axis, again, I click on the plus, and then there's this floating point number again on type, and here's the value, I write it as 1. Okay, so here, I just use these 2 lines here, but there's a difference of this one compared to others. Get variable, yes, there's this get variable, but the one which is graph, it is sticking on the object. And the object, which is get variable, is actually is like the type that you can send inside another object, for instance, this to be a cubic only. So, I mean, you can attach another game object here, but here, no. This is not the cubic itself, but here, this isn't. So here, when we enter 1, again, live rotation I'm going to do, Y angle. So I've got this X rotation and Y rotation. So first of all, let's see whether it works. My update is operating, X rotation is 1, and I can see what I sent here. It's 1 here, as you see. Y rotation, let me just make it 3, and Y axis. Here it is now 3 folds faster in its operation. And similarly, as you see, in the object side, the variable there, and the play mode, even though I change, when I turn off the play mode, again, it goes to number 1. Okay, so here on the play mode, it doesn't record itself, as you see. If you want this to be recorded, then you should exit from play mode and you should just convert the number and you should just save it. Okay. So let's increase the number of our cubics and change the material of it. Doing duplication is Control D, friends. A selected game object. When you're on it, if you do Control D, and on Mac is Command D if you haven't changed the key layout. I use it differently on Mac. It doesn't matter. I mean, I use as Windows PC. I separated two cubics from each other, as you see distinctively. So in order to separate the two together, there is this material which I'm going to be associating with it. I'm going to just going to create a material here. I'm going to be giving color to it. One is orange. The other one is, of course, naturally gray in order to separate the two from each other. Okay. So first of all, the rotations here, I'm going to put them as 0. And the Z angle here, I'm going to be indicating as 3. So first of all, let's try what happens here. So now, only Z, on the Z side, there is a rotation because X, Y are 0. I think that it seems to be like a wrong image here. 0, 0. No, it's not wrong. I've checked it. Both are should rotate on the Z axis. That's why. There could be a missing thing on the axis registry of this, but it's not much of a problem. So both do rotate on the Z angle, towards the Z angle, because other spaces are 0. That's why. Other values are 0. Okay. So we enter this graphic. Now I'm going to change it, the graph variable. For instance, X, I'm going to make it 1, and then I'm going to restart the play. So here, friends, but there's this mistake there because here I see 3. Okay, now it has been corrected. Okay, so both X as a graph variable and Z, they are rotating. Let me just do this 0 so that we see it, because there was a slight mistake in the rotation a minute ago. Okay, so now you see both are rotating on the same direction, the Z direction. I mean, in 3 power 3, I mean, 3 torque, let's say. 3 speeds. So the variable that I change on graph, of course, it is going to impact the 2. So both 2 and both 3 is sent inside. However, here, underneath each cubic, there is this variable section. Do you see? So this is the variable on the objects type. This variable, I can change it here because this is object-based variables. I can write different things here. On one cube, the rotation is Y rotation 1. The other one is Y rotation 5, for instance. It may be. I just click on play. They're going to be different, their rotation types. One is 5, the other one is 1. Here in cubic 1, it's 1 rotation. And in the other cube, it is 5, as you see here. I click on the cubic underneath, and I see the script graph here. One is 5, and the other one is 1. So if you want to place variables that are pertaining to the objects you created on the object side. The variables on the graphic, it's the same everywhere that you add to the graphic. Like you can think of a global change, the graphic change, the global variable. So now let's magnify this a bit, friends. Let's create certain differences. Like let's change the rotation speed a bit because this is not an appropriate speed. So now let's add a new visual script here. I click on Write, create visual scripting, script graph. And then here I say rotate speed. Again, I double click. My script opens. Here, I want to use this now. And my cubic here, I had this script machine, it was rotation. Now I'm going to change it for the both. Rotate speed. The same here. I will change this. Here, you see this is empty. There is nothing inside. So even if I click on edit graph, it's empty inside. We have to fill this in. What I need, friends, is an update from Unity events. Right click, I write updates. There are three types of update on Unity. Currently, I'm going to be using this update. This is event. It should stay here. So first of all, I will define an object variable here. Then here, rotation degrees per second. I write this down. Type interact and 45 degrees. What I want is that I wanted to change it by 45 degrees every second. When I do this, these variables, as you see on this section, rotation degrees per second, my variable appears here. I'm not going to use Y rotate here. That's why I can just delete it from the object by clicking on the minus, and it goes the same here. Rotate degrees per second. Integer and 45. And here, friends, in order to calculate it properly, one of the functions that we have is right click at delta time, get delta time. We use it plenty of time because there are two, for instance, calculation times, the times that I've calculated. It is the time between the two. I mean, it is the time spent between two calculation times from one update to the next update. The time lapsed is delta time. Why do I keep this as a record? Because in order to normalize time, the real time and the calculated time, in order to keep them, it is a function which is used a lot. So get delta time is a ready function for us. And here, I am going to be multiplying it here. Here, I write multiply. I can add mathematical functions here. And here, degrees per second is what I have. So with my time and delta time, I can multiply the two. No, excuse me. Delta time and rotation value, I can multiply the two. If I do so, then in real time, within 1 second, this cubic could rotate with 45 degrees with this chart. And here, friends, in order to use this, in order to ensure that rotation, I need a transformer again. transform rotate I need. So this transform method, it has to have an input. I attach the update here, which means with each update it is going to operate, and what the direction of the rotation, for instance, y-axis, let's say. On the lower part, on the real time, I calculate how much it is going to rotate, and up in the up I calculate it. Let me just click. My cubic on the left side is rotating by 45 degrees per second, which I can see from here. And there is this delta time calculation 0.01. It's the really low value. And apart from that, there's this thing here, like 10 milliseconds is the delta time, as you see here. It multiplies it by 45, and then it rotates my angle and normalizes for 1 second. I haven't written down a code so that visually we see it. I'm going to magnify my example. There are some keyboard input. Let me just get it. Let's do this in a simple way as well. For instance, if else statements, if this, then you do that kind of statements. Right click if in if control, like if it is wrong, do this, wrong, do that. So if it is right or else if it is wrong, there are certain things that I have to check for ifs. What, like what? For instance, input GetKey. There is this function. When I say GetKey, I can check whether I've pressed on the button here. This GetKey, I get it. I put it here. I remove this. In order to remove something, to remove an arrow, you just click on it, right? And it just deletes automatically. From GetKey to if, I will be sending, I've attached the two together. And here, there is this value that I have to check out, a key value. Here I've got the numbers all my keyboard, all the keys. Spacebar I want to check out. If it is right, I have to say operate. Okay, I'm going to be affiliating this to this, and this update, I'm going to be connecting this to here, and the space in between the two, it wasn't there. It was directly connected to this, but now here I have connected this to a keyboard check. When I click on the space bar, it is going to operate. If I do not, then it is not going to operate. I think that, yeah, there is something missing. Yeah, here I have to connect the input. I haven't done that, so let me operate it again. And I have to connect the purple sides. I click on the space. Here, when I do not click, there is this false rotation. It's indicated here. And when I click on the space, again, you see the bottom part also starts operating and the cube starts rotating. As time, of course, passes by, we can create big size visual scripts here. We can magnify here. I will proceed for some time and then I'm going to stop. For instance, let's do it like this. There is this space. When I click on space, it rotates. Okay. When I click on W, I want it to go upwards, for instance. It's a vector in Unity, Y up. There is this Y up vector. When we say get up, here you see there's this get up vector. This get up vector, Y is 1, X is 0. It's a ready vector. And here, similarly, if I multiply this also, just like the one I have done underneath, there is this float, and I want this 0.01. I'm going to be dividing it to 1 to the 100, this upper vectors. And when I divide, I could write 100 to float, and I would write divide here, for instance. And instead of divide, I'm going to say multiply. It's all up to you, whether if you want to do division or else multiplication, it's all up to you. These two numbers, I'm going to be multiplying the two. And then the output is going to be on a vector 3, but it is going to be divided to 100, of course. And here, if we do like drag and drop, it will bring the thing that you want to add. Again, like I am not clicking on space. What am I doing then? For instance, here now, I click on W, because you can click it and select it also. If I select the W, let's do it like this. Another transform, position transform, not rotation, but position, let's say. Set position. Now I want to change the position, for instance. No, translate. I won't translate. Let me just change the translate. Translation, it could be. Okay, translation. It could be appropriate. So now, translate, I'm going to be connecting it to translation. If this button presses on W, it is false. If it presses here, and I want it to connect to translate, like this. No, there was something missing here. I need another if here, like this. I mean, if the button presses W, continue. Okay, so now I click on space, it rotates, I leave. Because I do not click on space, it doesn't, because I do not press on the W. When I press on the W, it goes upwards. When I click on space, it rotates. When I click on W, it goes upwards. And the final thing that we're going to do, I mean, if else, we shouldn't proceed like that all the time. There's this switch also. We can do switch here. Right click, switch on string. The switch on string, I can add more than one content. I'm going to say ignore case, first of all. And then on the right side, I'm going to be adding options. Switch is, I mean, which one is like embedded W, S, A, Z? I want it to give me an output. So here, one of the functions, I call it space. And then the second of the options, I enter W. And third option, I enter S, so on and so forth. And there is also a default option. So here, based on our input, we can change the cases. And then we can do the transformation. This is our switch. And with this our switch of us, get input string. Get input string. Whatever we press on, it senses it. This GetKey, I remove it now. this update here, I connect it to switch, and get input string, again, I connect it to switch. So whatever I give it as an input here, let's see how it operates. Let's see. I click on space, W, S, and it sends an input inside. So now let's continue. If, when I click on space, if I click on space, let me just delete these ifs. When I click on space, let it do a rotation. And if I click on W, I want it to do a translation. If I click on S, it should do a reverse translation, put it downwards. So I can do copy paste here, selecting all. It was up here. Now underneath there is this plus value here, 0, 0, 1, but it is plus. If I make it minus, the up vector, if you make it minus with the multiplying effect, it would go reverse on the reverse direction. So S in that respect, there is this another translate here, another translate connection here. Here, this S here, set variable, and this S here, I'm going to connect it to translation, and this S here. Let's try. I click on W. Here you see what happens. The top part functions operates. Click on S, the bottom part functions. Click on space, rotation operates. And then I visually control it. This was all from me. Any questions? Tolgay Bey, thank you so very much. We've into our final 1 minute. We can answer 1 or 2 questions. I guess no questions. Okay, thank you so very much for your participation. Once again, I thank you. We were delighted to have you again. Hope to see you. We'll see each other. Bye.